The President. Questions. Question 1. Mr. Tang Ka-piu. Thank you, President. It has been reported that some developers acquired the Kowloon Bay International Trade and Exhibition Center (KITTEC) in 2021 and have recently applied to the Town Planning Board (TPB) for redeveloping KITTEC into 6 residential buildings, 1 commercial building, and 1 mixed-use building with retail and social welfare facilities. It is learned that KITTEC will cease operation from this July. In this connection, will the government inform this council, 1. Whether it has assessed the impact of the cessation of operation of KITTEC on the organization of activities in Kowloon East, such as those relating to culture, sports, tourism, performing arts and entertainment, as well as events such as conventions, exhibitions, and banquets, whether there are any indoor venues in Kowloon East that can accommodate such activities and events, while the said redevelopment project is in progress, if so, of the locations, areas, and capacities. 2. As it is learned that after KITTEC has ceased to operate, there will be a shortage of large-scale indoor comprehensive convention and exhibition venues in KE, Kowloon East, whether the government has assessed if Kowloon East will fit its positioning as a second core business district CBD under such circumstances, and 3, whether it knows the area and year of commissioning of the convention and exhibition venue to be provided under the said redevelopment project, whether the authorities will require the developers concerned to provide a C&E venue not smaller than KITTEC. Secretary for Development. Thank you, President. Kowloon Bay International Trade and Exhibition Center (KITTEC) is of around 2.2 hectares, zoned as other specified uses, annotated, trademark, and commercial development. To reflect the planning intention that the site is primarily for exhibitions and ancillary commercial uses, the relevant outline zoning plan OZP stipulates that a gross floor area GFA of not less than about 11,300 square meters shall be provided for exhibition-related uses within the development. Currently, the provision of exhibition-related floor area at KITTEC complies with this requirement. In response to Mr. Tang's question, having consulted the Commerce and Economic Development Bureau (CEDB) and the Culture, Sports and Tourism Bureau (CSTB), the Development Bureau's consolidated reply is as follows. On Parts 1 and 3 of the question, under both the commercial redevelopment proposals submitted in 2022 and the latest planning application for proposed composite commercial and residential redevelopment, a GFA of about 11,300 square meters for exhibition-related use would be retained by owner of KITTEC at the site in order to fulfill the requirement as stipulated under the OZP. In other words, according to the relevant statutory planning requirement and the 2 redevelopment proposals, the supply of exhibition facilities in Kowloon East would not diminish due to the redevelopment of KITTEC. According to the planning applications submitted by the owner, the tentative completion year of the 2 redevelopment proposals is 2027 and 2028 respectively. As for when KITTEC will cease operation, it will be the owner's decision. According to KITTEC's website, for rentable event space currently in KITTEC, there are mainly 2 rotunda halls that can accommodate a total of 160 exhibition booths and an entertainment performance venue that can host an audience of 3,600. Having regard to the existing and upcoming cultural and sports facilities, as well as the scale of existing exhibition facilities in Hong Kong, we believe that some of the demand in the community for the existing facilities in KITTEC can be absorbed by other facilities during the redevelopment. That is, during the redevelopment process. For example, Kai Tak Sports Park (KTSP), expected to open in the first half of next year, has an area of about 28 hectares, including a 50,000-seat main stadium, a 10,000-seat indoor sports center, and a 5,000-seat public sports ground. Other than sports events, the main stadium can also host various large-scale cultural and entertainment events such as music concerts. The main stadium's design can provide a venue of different capacity, catering for the needs of different events. Furthermore, there are other venues for hosting different types of cultural performance activities in Kowloon East, such as the East Kowloon Cultural Center (EKCC), which will open in phases starting from this year. The hall and the theater in EKCC can host an audience of around 1,200 and around 550 respectively. On conventions and exhibitions venues specifically, there are two dedicated venues for large-scale C&E events, namely the Hong Kong Convention and Exhibition Center, Hong Kong CEC, and the Asia World Expo, with a combined rentable C&E area of around 158,000 square meters, which hosts many large-scale international C&E events every year. Besides, Hong Kong also offers other venues such as hotels and multifunctional facilities catering for the needs of different events. Furthermore, the government is also gearing up to build additional C&E venues near the existing Hong Kong CEC in Wan Chai North and at Asia World Expo. These expansion developments will increase large-scale C&E area by more than 40% to around 220,000 square meters. For part 2 of the question, although the owner would provide 11,300 square meter floor area for exhibition-related use as required under the OZP in both redevelopment proposals previously submitted, the mix of other uses of the two proposals greatly differ. The planning application that TPB approved last year involved a total GFA of around 165,000 square meters. Other than that, for exhibition-related use, the remaining 153,700 square meters of GFA was all for commercial use such as office, eating place, shop, and so on. For the planning application recently submitted, the proposed GFA is around 137,000 square meters, among which 63% is for residential use, about 35% for commercial use, including exhibition facilities, while the remaining 2% is for community use, such as social welfare facilities and kindergartens. The Secretariat of TPB is currently inviting public comments for the owner's latest planning application. The Planning Department will comprehensively assess the application in terms of planning and other technical considerations, as well as comments from relevant departments and public. For TPB's consideration, having taken into account whether the proposed mix of use will be in line with the planning intention of the site, whether it would affect the positioning of Kowloon East as CBD2, land use compatibility of the proposed residential use with the surroundings, and the demand for additional housing supply in the area, etc. I so submit. Thank you, President. Mr. Bill Tang. Thank you, President. Thank you, Secretary. Kowloon East is the CBD2. Over the last decade, this is what the government has been promoting. However, in CBD2, there is no C&E venue. It's a great pity. Kit Tak is an area frequented by many members of the public. Even music awards ceremony will be hosted in Kit Tak on the 23rd of June. So I'd like to ask the Secretary. The positioning of Kowloon East is to support Hong Kong as the international cultural center. You mentioned the seating capacity of 3,600 in Kit Tak. So even if you preserve the exhibition venue of 11,300 square meters, does that include the Star Hall of 3,600? Secretary. Thank you, President. Currently, Kit Tak provides exhibition halls, and all these are covered under the OZP, that is not less than 11,300 square meters. Regarding the seating capacity of 3,600 venue, this is the decision of the owner back then. Regarding the OZP and land lease, they allow the commercial floor area where activities like F&B, performance and venue, retail, all these can take place within the area. This is up to the owner. Of course, after the redevelopment project, how the commercial floor area will be used. As I said, for C&E area not less than a particular amount, this is left to the market to decide. Mr. Jimmy Ng. Thank you, President. In a consultancy study about Hong Kong C&E industry, it's been decades. A lot have happened. The situation has greatly differed. It's become different. It's exactly the right time to review the demand of the industry for venues in Hong Kong. So will the administration adopt the suggestions of the BPA to undertake a study? In the Hong Kong Tourism Blueprint 2.0, will you consider the future potential of C&E and propose new directions for C&E and tourism? Thank you, Mr. Jimmy Ng. We are aware of the suggestion of the BPA. After the epidemic, we have been working very hard to attract international conventions and exhibitions to come to Hong Kong. Basically, regarding the sellers of exhibitors, we have recovered to 80% of the pre-pandemic level. We are confident that within this year, we can boost the figure to the pre-pandemic level or even exceed the pre-pandemic level. Regarding the comprehensive planning, we have already shared with members. Regarding the expansion of Wan Chai North and Asia World Expo, we are taking forward these redevelopment projects or expansion projects at full pelt. The figures for C&E industry has already resumed to the pre-pandemic level, but there are both high and off seasons. In high seasons, that is March, April, September, and October, the remaining time of the year is off seasons. Our tactic is to attract exhibitors to come to Hong Kong in off seasons so that we can make better use of the venues in Hong Kong, so that we can better deploy the resources we have in relation to C&E industry. Mr. Chen Yong. Thank you, President. We are boosting the local economic development. The existing venue of Hong Kong CEC is insufficient. The cost is high as well. Do we have any outdoors venues to make up for the existing shortfall so that we can revitalize the local economy and boost it? Secretary. Thank you, President. In my main reply, after redevelopment, as I mentioned, there will be an increase or continuing supply of the gross floor area. However, during the redevelopment process, we don't have such an area. How are we going to deal with it? When we develop new civic facilities, flexibility is the key. We want to provide seats, a better capacity of the venues. It's actually easy to overhaul these facilities. We have EKCC, East Kowloon Cultural Center, and Kai Tak Sports Park coming soon. For example, on Hong Kong Island, we have Queen Elizabeth Stadium. All these allow us to make up for the shortfall of the insufficient space or the loss of space as a result of the cessation of operation of Kit Tak. Kit Tak actually provides a wide range of venues. They come in large and small sizes. So we'll work hard to take forward the redevelopment project and provide spaces of different sizes. Dr. David Lam. The government will provide 11,300 square meter C&E venues. Is it going to be a closed area Or will it be in the atrium of a shopping hall that is for performance purposes and so on? In the OZP, it simply states the gross floor area. It does not specify whether it is going to be an open area or a closed area. That is with reference to the requirement of the statutory plan. However, indoor areas are more suitable for exhibition purposes. If it is going to be an outdoor venue, if need be, the owner needs to submit a new application. We don't have this requirement written down, but in fact, these venues will be indoors. Mr. Ma Fong-kwok. Thank you, President. I'm more concerned about performance venues. KIT-TAG has 4 main venues, providing the industry with space for performance purposes, including a seating capacity of 3,600 and another venue of 1,600 and another of 1,000 seats. There is also a small music venue housing 400 to 600 audience members. We're going to have a new iconic development in North Point, that is Sun Kong Theater. Meanwhile, we will lose a total of 5 publicly operated venues. But then the venues you mentioned are government venues. That is, those developments in Kai-tak are non-specified uses, and this is indeed a great blow to the industry. In view of this change, I'd like to ask the administration, in the overall planning of the city, will you formulate plan for the sports and performance venues in the major areas in Hong Kong? Thank you, President. Whether it's a land lease or statutory plan, we don't want the requirements to be carved in stone. The government is not someone that can predict the future. We don't have the crystal ball. But of course, for a certain area to be specified as a commercial use or commercial area in the land lease, if we need to hold convention and exhibition or even performance venue, is actually possible. So will we play the role of a facilitator in the OZP or land lease? Will we introduce some provisions or requirements? I think we have to tread cautiously. We need to take into account the demand in the parcel of land concerned. Otherwise, we will be going around in circles. We will be imposing another straitjacket on ourselves. The persons concerned will have to make an application with the TPB once again. Then we will lose some time. But of course, we will be cautious as to which parcel of land is suitable for such purposes. Mr. Perry Yu. Thank you, President. The C&E industry is important to Hong Kong and to the tourism sector as well. It brings a lot of overnight, high-value visitors to Hong Kong. The insufficient space is limiting the development of the C&E industry. It affects our competitiveness. Mr. Bill Tang's oral question is about the insufficient space or performance venue in Hong Kong. In the replies of the administration, they always concern the expansion development of Wan Chai North and the expansion project of Asia World Expo Phase 2. That can bring a growth of 40% to 220,000 square meters. But we know the development project in Wan Chai would not materialize until 2024, whereas the project in Asia World Expo does not have a concrete timetable yet. So by 2034, could we have seen an expansion of Asia World Expo? That remains an unknown. regarding Asia World Expo, we are reviewing North Lantau Infection Control Center arrangements. So after we take back the venue, we will right away start the expansion works. We will also make announcements in relation to the time that will take. However, on the expansion time of the AWE, it will not be as long as that for Wan Chai North. We will announce the details as soon as possible. Mr. Andrew Lam. Thank you, President. Just now, the Secretary mentioned planning, land, administration. She said flexibility is key. I agree. In the main reply to Mr. Bill Tang, Kowloon East positioning as CBD2 in Hong Kong. Over a long period of time around the world, we need to think about the new concept of CBD. The demand and the use of core business district have changed, switching from CBD to CSD. That is Central Social District. It's all about change. I'd like to know whether the administration has any plan for the transition of the CBD. Will you undertake studies in Hong Kong? That is how we can drive this change, allowing greater flexibility in the use of the CBD or CSD, as I mentioned. Secretary, thank you, President, for a study dedicated to this area. Right now, we don't have this plan. But when we are planning new developments, including in the Northern Metropolis, Santine Technopole, different developments that are going to take place there, we will consider the requirements of the statutory plan. That is to see whether we should allow flexibility in the area so that in the same parcels of land that is commercial area, we can accommodate different commercial purposes. We can even allow a small portion of residential use. We often talk about vertical development. So even if we do not have a dedicated study in different large-scale redevelopment projects, we are exploring this area. Thank you.
Question 2, Mr. Edward Lau. Thank you, President. There are views that with Hong Kong's overall competitiveness impacted by high rents coupled with the recovery of the economy falling short of expectation, we are seeing shopping closed and shop tenancies being surrendered. Shop tenants in the new territories north are the first to be hit under the trend of going north for spending. In this connection, the government informed this council one of the letting rates of various shopping centres in housing estates under the government in the past 5 years and the proportion of tenants who had their rents reduced upon tenancy renewal after rent assessment. Whether the government will examine the operation and vacancy situation of its facilities such as shopping centres and markets in housing estates and study launching relief measures including rent waiver for tenants so as to enable tenants to continue their operations and avoid waste of tenancy surrender shop closure. 3.2, as there are views that the design and supporting facilities of shopping centres in new housing estates under the government are unfavourable to the operation of shop tenants. Example, insufficient parking spaces and lack of mobile phone reception. Whether the government will introduce corresponding improvement measures such as the provision of additional directional signs and improving the telecommunications network and stepping up publicity and promotion for shop tenants with a view to attracting patronage. If so, the details, if not the reasons for that. And 3, given that the housing department currently only assesses the renewal rent for its shop premises upon expiry of existing tenancies, whether the authorities will change the current practice and introduce a mid-term review mechanism for tenants to make representations in order to handle special circumstances, thereby conducting rent assessment in a timely manner, ensuring the competitiveness of the rental levels. If so, of the details, if not reasons for that. Secretary for Housing. President, my reply to Mr. Lau's questions as follows. 1. The commercial facilities of the Housing Authority are primarily to provide for the daily necessities and services required by local residents. And the business volume may be affected by seasonal factors and change in consumption patterns, for example, going north for shopping and online shopping. And then shop operators may then face challenges, and then leads to the inaccurate perception that there are a large number of vacant shops. As at the end of April this year, the vacancy rate of retail facilities of the Housing Authority is 3.92%. It's a relatively high level in recent years, but compared to the private sector vacancy rate of 6.6%, our vacancy rate is still acceptable. And then for the vacancy rate or occupancy rate in the past 5 years is in the annex. Now, in recent years, we're seeing more and more online shopping and also people going north for shopping. So there's a change in consumption patterns. The Housing Authority will adopt flexible rental and leasing policies. We will actively meet the needs of residents as we rent out shops. And then we also carry out other modifications to vacant shops. We will do feasibility studies. As for markets with a high vacancy rate, we will reassign or realign the shops, the stores, or change the usage. And we want to provide suitable services for local residents and meet their needs. As consumption patterns change, some shops, such as supermarkets or catering facilities, may need to change their mode of operation, and they may have less demand for shop space. So if some shops, such as supermarkets, need to adapt to market changes and ask to reduce their rental size, and therefore they will pay us less rent, the Housing Authority will consider it. Now, when shops are left vacant, the HA may arrange short-term fairs or pop-up shops and other promotional activities to let out the space. This will allow shops to earn some income. At the same time, it will bring more diversity to the shopping arcade and therefore bring in more foot traffic. Now, given the current economic circumstances, the HA is fully aware of the challenges and difficulties faced by tenants, but then we need to ensure our tendering system is fair. Now, shops are let by open tender. Tenderers will submit a rental bid, and if they succeed and then they start operation, after that they find that business is not as expected, they may ask for rent concessions. Or there are some tenderers who put in a high bid so that they will win the tender, and then they ask for rent reduction. Well, it will be unfair to other tenderers. If we start such a precedent, then people may query the effectiveness and the fairness of the tendering system. So that's why the HA needs to be treated with great caution in handling requests for rent reduction. The HA will closely monitor the economic situation and provide suitable assistance to shop operators. Rent reduction, however, will not help shop operators to overcome the challenges brought about by changes in consumption habits. Shop operators need to actively adapt to changes. They need to enhance their own competitiveness, for example, by bringing in new items or enhancing the customer service. And so shop operators need to work hard to keep their customers. HA will review its retail facilities from time to time. It will also enhance existing retail facilities. For example, enhancing the shop mix in shopping centers, changing the layout, and providing more parking spaces where feasible. Then also we set up suitable promotional stores at prominent locations such as the entrance of shopping centers. We keep promotion materials there to give out information to customers about our promotions. And then on major festivals and special durations such as summer holidays, Mid-Autumn Festival, Christmas, Chinese New Year, we stage various promotional activities. For instance, some time ago, we held the Dream on Stage competition for young people to showcase their talents and help bring in more customers. HA also follows closely the concept of well-being in coming up with innovative programs. At different districts, vacant shops are offered to young people and NGOs for starting their own business. HA will also follow the well-being design guide soon to be launched. And then we will be staging a series of activities with the well-being concept. This will enhance the sense of belonging of residents and also give them a sense of happiness. At the same time, it will bring revitalize the ambience in shopping centers. The lease period is for commercial premises usually 3 years. Shop operators have to bid for this shops. They put in a rental bid, and if they succeed in the bid, then they must pay rent on a monthly basis for the full lease period. If shop operators ask for rent reduction because of various reasons, it will be unfair to other tenderers. It will also affect the fairness of the open tender system. So we have to go by the contractual spirit. Rental level within the lease period will not be changed. But then when leases are about to expire, the HA will flexibly reassess the rental level according to market rent, and HA will consider various other factors that may affect the rental level. For example, the location of the shops, the foot traffic size, and market situation, and so on. And then rent will be adjusted. HA will actively renegotiate renewal of leases with shop operators so that they could reach a consensus without affecting the public, the shopping public. Thank you. Mr. Edward Lau. Well, I think the HA has totally underestimated the challenges faced by shop operators. Now, we just heard the vacancy rate is 3.92%, but then in fact, in many public housing estate, PHE shopping centers, they have to pay high rents. Daily income is not even enough to pay the rent, so that's why many shops just close their operation or just use the shops for storage purpose. So that means there will be less choices for the shopping public. Now the lease period is 1 to 3 years. And but then for supermarkets, restaurants, usually the lease tenure is 6 years. So we're not talking about isolated cases, but rather the general situation is that we need to enhance the competitiveness of Hong Kong. High rental is the major stumbling block. So I hope the Secretary will consider introducing a midterm review, in particular for markets, supermarkets, restaurants. The lease tenure is 6 years. So will you introduce a midterm review so there will be an assessment of whether the rental level is in line with the prevailing situation? Secretary, during the COVID pandemic, we offered rent concessions to shop operators so that they could tide over the difficult times. And the rent concessions lasted some 51 months. The concession was as much as 75%. So we have to consider the financial position of HA. We have to collect rent in accordance with the contracts signed. Now, the member mentioned the lease tenure. The first lease is 6 years, but then for every renewal is 3 years. Now, if we let out shops again, we could bring in new tenants, so such as sushi shops or new style Hong Kong cafes. They will help to enhance the competitiveness of our shopping centers, and we've been successful in letting out the vacant shops on this basis. Mr. Scott Leung. Now, in the written reply, it said that if we introduce a midterm review, it won't be fair to other tenderers. If there's a problem with one shop operator, you may see that tenderer has been too aggressive in offering a high bid in order to win the tender. But then now most shop operators face difficulty, so a midterm review will be useful. Maybe in the whole shopping arcade, if more than 70% of the shop operators want a review, then it should be done to reassess the rent level. Mr. Scott Leung, this is not a debate. Please come to your question. Okay, I'll come to my question now, President. Now, many shopping centers may introduce various schemes such as reward schemes to bring in customers. Now, Domain is a well-run shopping center. It offers a reward scheme, a loyalty, or customer loyalty scheme, sort of. So would you introduce such a scheme to all other shopping centers, and so people will go and spend there because they can save reward dollars? Secretary, yes, we have launched various successful programs, and then for promotional activities or reward schemes, we will see whether these could be introduced in suitable shopping centers. And we have actually completed a few new shopping centers: Kai Chun Center, Phase 2, Yan'an Center, Shopping Center 2, Fu Tip Shopping Center 2. There is a very good occupancy rate, is over 85%. And there are new brands that have moved in. So we see these shopping centers have an appeal to customers, and we will continue to do better in terms of promotion and publicity. Mr. Tommy Cheung. Thank you, President. I could appreciate many parts of the reply. When we have a stable business environment, is important. I've been on the Housing Authority for many years. I've been a member of that committee on commercial premises. Well, when it was 2003, I don't know what post you were in. At the time, I told Mr. Leung Chin-man to reduce rent because of SARS, and he asked me how much should we reduce the rent. And he said for catering business, 50%, market stores, 30%. Rent should be reduced for a 3 months period, and it could be considered further every 3 months. And he said that my request was reasonable, so 2 weeks later, the rent concession was introduced. Now, at a time, we had never experienced anything like SARS. Now, we've never experienced anything like COVID. In the past 20 months or so, you said you offered 35% rent concession. But then the rent was at the pre-COVID level. Now businesses are no longer able to have a business volume like it's like before the COVID period, and shop operators are really suffering. So you shouldn't just consider the normal situation. The best landlord is the Housing Authority. This is your brand. Don't spoil it. Please do consider it, because I've never seen so many cases recently when people come to me and ask me to request a rent reduction from HA. Don't just look at the vacancy rate. Don't just look at the lease condition or the tendering system. This is an extraordinary period. The economy has not recovered. So will you help out the shop operators, please? Secretary. During COVID, we offered 51 months of rent concession. In most cases, the rent concession was 75%. On the 31st of December 2023, we ended the rent concession arrangement. So we have resumed the normal lease rental level. But then when there's renewal of leases, we will have regard to the market rent level. We'll consider various factors such as the locations of the shops, the situation of the shopping centers, the foot traffic situation, and so on. And we'll reassess the rent level. And we'll also negotiate with shop operators on the rent, on the renewal rent level. So there is a mechanism to adjust the rent upon renewal of the lease. Dr. Teck Chi-yun. Well, our observation is many shops are left vacant on a prolonged basis. It is particularly the case in the older public housing estates. Well, that's probably because the market condition has changed. And then at the same time, many welfare organizations would like to rent shopping space to provide service to residents. So maybe there are many vacant shops and they've been waiting for a long time. Will you allow NGOs to rent these shop spaces? Of course, the rent will have to be at a welfare rate, and then we can provide service to the district. So would you consider that? Secretary. Well, in the main reply, President, I mentioned that we would consider new ideas. We're trying out new ideas under the concept of well-being. We have a scheme to encourage entrepreneurship under the well-being concept. So vacant shops are let out to NGOs or young people for them to either start a business or provide a service. Then we could make good use of shops that are vacant for the time being. And then with these activities, hopefully then we could bring in more foot traffic and revitalize these shopping centers. Mr. Peter Shiu, declaration of interest. I'm a member of the Housing Authority. In the main reply, the Secretary said that some shop spaces are let out by open tender, so it won't be fair if we reduce rent when some may have offered a high rental bid to win the tender. Well, but I don't think that logic stands. You tell us the vacancy rate of shops in HA shopping centers 3.2%, which is less than the 3.92%, which is less than the 6.6% in the private market. Well, the main reason is because you offered rent concessions for a long period, and we thank you for that effort. But now the economy has not really recovered. Many shop operators have told me that people are going north to shop, so they're under immense pressure. Secretary, you say there's no chance of rent reduction. I'm not even asking for a midterm review. I want an immediate review on the rental reduction mechanism, because then shops will close and not only shop operators are affected, but the residents are also affected. Secretary, we fully appreciate the difficulties faced by shop operators. We hope shop operators will have regard to the change in spending patterns and habits. They must adapt their business as a result. They may bring in new good items, or they could change their mode of operation. We've seen successful examples here. For example, in a market in West Kowloon, the market starts a delivery service, and this store accounts for 50% of the business volume of the market. And this store does not take business away from other stores, but rather the goods actually bought from other stores for delivery to customers. So that's a good way to expand customers' sources. And then it's also a breakthrough in market operations, and the whole market benefits as a result. from this innovative approach. So we would like to see more such changes. Ms. Carmen Ken. Now, for occupancy rate that's relatively low in the past 5 years, these are shop spaces that are smaller. That's the observation. Now, I appreciate we need to respect contractual spirit and we need to be fair to other tenderers who've lost in the bid. So on that basis, maybe for shopping centers that are smaller in size with lower synergy effect, would you consider exercising some flexibility? Secretary. Yes, we do know, President, that some shops may have a lower occupancy rate and they are less appealing. For these shop spaces, we've taken various measures to enhance their competitiveness. For example, we may change the shop mix in a shopping center. And recently, when we invite tenders, we will allow shop operators in the same trade to bid for the shops. Hopefully, then, that will be more flexibility and we'll be able to let out the shops more easily. Thank you.
Question number 3, Ms. Eunice Young. President, regarding the leasable non-domestic premises under the Housing Authority, will government inform this Council, 1, of the following information on each premises in HA housing estates, its location, for example, in the market or shopping center or at the ground level, floor level, use, size, year of completion of the estate, as well as the lease period, the longest consecutive vacancy period over the past 10 years, with a tabulated breakdown by housing estate. Second, as it is learned that the Commercial Properties Management Unit, CPMU, under the HA is responsible for leasing matters in relation to commercial premises and shopping centers, of the criteria adopted for recruiting CPMU staff and whether HA has provided training to the staff to ensure that they have the business mindset that can keep tabs on the market and the positioning, thereby formulating policies to enhance the patronage and business turnover. If so, of the details. If not, why not? And 3, in respect of the leasable non-domestic premises left vacant for a long time, of the principles, procedures, time required for HA to consider changing their uses, whether HA has considered reviewing the procedures to shorten the time for changing their uses, thereby making more efficient use of the vacant land and premises. If so, of the details. If not, the reasons for that. Secretary for Housing. President, my reply is as follows. As more housing estates come on stream, the Housing Authority has seen an increase in the retail facilities. As of March 2024, we have 306,000 square meters of retail facilities, up by 31,400 square meters. And in the coming 5 years, there will be an additional 63,500 square meters of retail facilities. All the details about the commercial premises and market situation are in the appendices. In the 133 housing estates with retail facilities, 58 of them have some vacant premises. In 52 of them register a vacancy of no more than 12 months. There are 6 housing estates: Ma Tau Wai Estate, Ong K Estate, Pak Tin, Circuit May, So Oak, and Wa Fu 1. They are older estates, and one of the premises in Ong K Estate saw a vacancy period of 24 months, and that used to be a clinic. It is in an obscure location. The Housing Authority has tried 16 times to put the premises for rent without success. In Ong K Estate, the occupancy rate has been pretty good at 96.12%. The Housing Authority will be putting up advertising the signboards and directional signs at suitable location to attract patrons. In the 15 housing estates under Housing Authority management, 10 of them have a vacancy period. Half of them have a vacancy period of less than 6 months. For others, Kwai Ching, West, Lai King, Pak Ong, and Wah Fu, they have a vacancy rate of not more than 10 months. The consumption pattern has changed post-COVID, and because of the retail sentiment, market situation, and economic situation, some tenants chose to terminate their tenancy. There will be more housing estates coming on stream, and it is expected that the rental situation may be fraught with challenges. The HA will keep an eye on the market situation and review the trade mix and the rental situation. We'll be getting in touch with the potential tenants and introduce popular and suitable trades to meet the needs of the tenants. For example, in Hoi Lai Shopping Center, one of the vacant premises was converted into a TCM clinic, and it has been successfully let, and we will meet the needs of the residents. In Shu Hong Court, we have changed one of the premises into a courier service shop, and in formulating the tender, we will have regard to the views of the stakeholders and flexibly adjust the trade mix. And where technically possible, we will consider converting the vacant premises into shops that are more commensurate with the public needs in order to boost the occupancy rate and meet the needs of the tenants. Second, the HA has a professional team to manage the housing estates and provide professional service, as well as rent assessment and rental management. The management of these premises is complicated and challenging. We do provide training for the staff in order for them to push back the frontier of knowledge and to upgrade themselves professionally and to enhance the competitiveness. Our management staff is not only responsible for the management and maintenance, they will also maintain close communication with the tenants and respond to their needs and spruce up the image of the shopping centers to increase footfall and business turnover. The management staff will also have regard to the views of the stakeholders and the market, and where possible, convert the vacant premises to suitable use. In terms of rental assessment, the estate surveyor will look at the market situation and look at the rent of the premises vis-a-vis the private market. They will also have regard to the location, the operating situation, the size, the footfall, and the market situation in devising the appropriate market rent. When renewing the leases, and also when advertising for new tenants, the housing authority will flexibly pitch the rental at an appropriate level. And they will also negotiate with the tenants regarding the renewal of the tenancy to make sure that the residents' needs will not be affected. When new facilities are coming on stream, the housing authority will look at the trade mix. Upon completion of the facilities, the housing authority will be adopting a flexible strategy to tie in with the needs of the market and the needs of the residents. So when designing the new housing estates, the HA will consider the scale, the commercial viability, and the neighboring facilities, and a whole host of other factors to come up with appropriate commercial facilities. Like they would consider whether there are LCSD or FCHD market in the vicinity, and if there are such markets, they probably would not consider providing such markets in the housing estates. In other words, in the new housing estates, the commercial facilities would differ, having regard to the local characteristics. It's not a matter of course that all market facilities will be provided. One of the viable options is to consider providing supermarkets with wet goods and also shops with fresh provisions. Third, at the moment, the non-domestic premises in rental housing are used for retail, shops, welfare facilities, councils, ward offices, storerooms, and contractors' offices. The HA will have to be flexible and have regard to the day-to-day needs of the residents, the neighboring environment, the scale of the shopping centers, and the retail situation and technical feasibilities, and adopt a flexible approach in order to come up with an appropriate trade mix for the shopping centers. And we will get in touch with the suitable tenants to provide the best possible needs. The HA will also review the trade mix and consider the residents' needs and possibly convert the vacant premises into uses that are both in keeping with the public needs. In Hon LAU Kwok-fan, Shui Bin Wai, and Kwai Chung shopping centers, we have success stories of the vacant premises being converted to a suitable use, like Hon LAU shopping center. We have successfully put a TCM practitioner there, and in Waifu we have put in a quick cut barber shop there in place of a hair salon, and there is also a LPG and kerosene shop in Shui Bin Wai estate has been converted into an educational outlet. In Kwai Chung, there is a center where we have converted a children's amusement game center into an educational outlet. So we will be in tune with the market situation and meet the needs of the residents. The HA will also consider rearranging the market stores or scale back the markets in order to boost the occupancy rate and provide a wide array of trades for the residents. The HA will also review the usage of the non-domestic premises. If these premises can be converted, we will conduct a feasibility study for this purpose, like we are prepared to consider the legislative requirements, the lease conditions, technical feasibility, and the views of the stakeholders, and consider these vacant premises on a case-by-case basis, having regard to the prevailing circumstances on the ground. Monsieur Nission. Regarding the management and strategy of the leasable non-domestic premises, I am absolutely shocked. In your reply, there are 133 housing estates. 58 of them have some vacant premises, and for 52 of them, the vacancy rate is no more than 12 months. So you are allowing the premises to be lying vacant for 12 months. And I would understand that there is a connection between all the shops, and there are only, with the exception of 6 housing estates, most of them are lying vacant for 12 months. For others, they are lying vacant for 24 months. Now, your approach is you just leave them lying vacant. If there are tenants, you will be arranging for them to go in. And there is a case in which 16 attempts failed to put the tenant there. So you ought to have the right policy. You have to train up the staff. We're not merely talking about rent remission or rent reduction. This is only tackling the symptoms, not the problems. The problem lies with the lack of footfall. Last month, there was not a debate. Ms. Young, please, your question, please. My question is, I went to the market with Rosanna Law. There are 13 vacant premises in Pok Hong Estate. The government doesn't seem to have any commercial strategy to tackle this problem and bring in the footfall. And my question for the administration is, do you have any criteria and a yardstick to make sure that you are going to be able to resolve these vacant non-domestic premises? Secretary? Well, there is only one shop premises that is vacant for more than 24 months, and most of them have been filled to our satisfaction. Now, the situation is that in general, when a premises is vacant, many of them are in the older housing estates. When they fall vacant, we would take the opportunity to conduct all the repair and maintenance to ensure structural integrity and fire installation and so on. So we would take this window of opportunity to get these done, and all these inspections and minor works and repair and maintenance would take something like 1 or 2 months. And we would swiftly, upon completion of these work, for the premises to be rented out. Pok Kong Estate, for instance, we are considering introducing different trades to increase the footfall for the shopping center. Now, in terms of recycling, we might consider, where possible, allowing some shop premises for the purposes of recycling. And that would make life easier for the residents, because they can take advantage of the trip to the market to chuck the recyclables to the shops, and they can achieve 2 purposes with just 1 single trip. Dr. Junius Ho. President, I heard a moment ago from the Undersecretary that they are being professional, and I go along with Ms. Eunice Yung in her observation that it seems the government is acting like civil servants. They couldn't care less, and they leave the vacant premises lying vacant 12 months, 24 months. They don't feel to think about it. You may say that you're working hard on them. Now, we have to be result-oriented. How can you make sure that you can sort out this vacancy issue? Now, we consider this, Mr. Undersecretary. We are promoting care. There are many councillors who run sort of ward offices. Why don't you allow them to use some of the vacant market stores, for instance? And the councillors can do practical work in these markets. Will you consider that? Undersecretary? Now, for care teams, we have already set aside places for the care teams, and they are enough. After 2 rounds of allocation, 210 have been allocated. And 35 of ward offices are still available for application. And this will be on a first-come, first-served basis. If councillors need ward offices, they can certainly put in an application for that. Mr. Scott Leung. President, thank you. We keep saying that the HA shopping centers are lying vacant, but indeed there are many organizations that simply cannot make the applications, and that's the welfare organizations on the front line. Now, there are many vacant shop premises in the housing authorities' shopping centers, and they have to invite tender. They would advertise for the potential tenant, and there are so many obstacles, so many hoops to jump through. So if there are small shopping commercial premises that lie vacant for a long time, will you allow the NGOs to move in at nominal rent to make sure that there will be income derived for the housing authority, and also more services will be provided to the tenant, to the residents? Undersecretary. Now, for these commercial premises, if they fall vacant, our first priority is to address the needs of the residents and rent them out on a commercial basis. For the trades, we do have certain amount of flexibility, and they can be changed suitably. As to NGOs, whether they can use these premises, now we will certainly consider that. We are going to be launching another scheme for the entrepreneurs and young people, and NGOs would have an opportunity to engage in entrepreneurship and also to startups to serve the members of the public, and they have a quicker way of making the application under the HA. Ms. Connie Lam, President, for the long-term vacancy problem of the non-domestic premises, will the government be working in collaboration with the NGOs to create some co-sharing center and in order to boost the value of these vacant premises? Undersecretary, President, in our publicity, in our strategy, we are prepared to work with various organizations to provide more activities. We do work with the NGOs for this purpose. We hope that through these activities, we can boost the appeal of these shopping centers and bring in people there, and more organizations will be given opportunities to showcase their talent and creativity. Ms. Doreen Kong, President, I'm grateful to the Undersecretary. Now he has taken us to see the stars. What I mean is now in the market, you have the single operator letting arrangement. Now with this system, this has been put in place in 1997. It's been 20-odd years. In 2020, there was a review. My question for the Undersecretary is this: there are so many problems arising from the single operator letting arrangement. Will the Housing Authority be reviewing a written branch review of the single operator letting arrangement in the markets? Undersecretary, now we have the single operator letting system for the markets, and the experience shows that this has been serving us pretty well, because with this single operator system, the publicity, the marketing, the concession for the entire market can benefit the residents, and this can be done in a coordinated way, and this has achieved pretty good results. In certain markets, at different times, there may be tenants who terminate their tenancies, but we can see that very quickly we're able to fill the vacant stores very quickly. We do have an assessment and evaluation mechanism, and for these single operators, we do conduct an evaluation on them, and this would make a difference to whether they would be successful in renewing their contract.
Question 4, Mr. Yim Kong. Thank you, President. In recent days, the central authorities have progressively introduced a number of new immigration policy measures which facilitate mainland residents' travel to and from Hong Kong, including further expanding the individual visa scheme to cover 59 cities and expanding the application of the exit endorsements for talents traveling to and from Hong Kong and Macau from the GBA to Beijing and Shanghai. There are views that such policy measures will have positive effects on the recovery of Hong Kong's economy by bringing more mainland residents to Hong Kong for spending. In this connection, will the government inform this council, 1, whether it has assessed the current supply and demand situation of retail goods in Hong Kong that are more popular among mainland visitors, such as pharmaceutical products, cosmetics, and jewelry. 2, as the government has indicated in its reply to a question raised by a member of this council on the 8th of this month, that it will continue to maintain close communication with the relevant mainland authorities and strive for policy initiatives that are conducive to Hong Kong's tourism development, including raising the tax-free threshold for shopping for mainland visitors visiting Hong Kong, whether the government has reached a certain consensus with the relevant mainland authorities on the raising of the tax-free threshold, if so, of the details, if not the reasons for that, and 3, whether it will consider planning for the establishment of a themed commercial complex to provide a retail spot specialized in goods that are popular among mainland visitors as a boundary control point in the northern metropolis, so as to attract more visitors to come to Hong Kong for spending, and facilitate their purchase of goods they need in Hong Kong with the least time spent, thereby boosting Hong Kong's retail industry. Secretary for Culture, Sports and Tourism. President, the government is sincerely grateful to the central government's announcement on the 11th of May for responding to our proposal on enhancing the Individual Visit Scheme, or IVS, which allows residents of 8 additional cities to explore Hong Kong's unique appeals as a tourism destination more flexibly and conveniently. The IVS now covers 59 cities, including all provincial capitals, which will boost the local tourism and other related industries. The Hong Kong Tourism Board is stepping up promotion work in the newly added cities and inviting representatives from the trade or relevant cities to come to Hong Kong to participate in promotional activities, thereby integrating the power of the trade to explore the relevant source markets. At the same time, the Hong Kong government will join hands with the trade to implement the concept of tourism is everywhere in Hong Kong, enhance the competitiveness of Hong Kong's tourism industry, fully explore Hong Kong's rich tourism resources, and draw on successful experiences from various places to enable innovative thinking and optimize policies. The government announced the calendar of mega events in Hong Kong for the second half of the year last week, expecting that at least about 210 mega events will be held throughout the year. We hope that through sharing the event information with the trade, operators in different industries can make advanced arrangements to prepare, plan, and launch promotion, thereby fully seizing the business opportunities brought about by mega events to create more diverse and rich tourism experiences. We also actively facilitate the industry to continuously improve service quality and encourage the public to work together to show hospitality to make tourists feel at home, with a view to reinforcing our position as the best tourism destination. In respect of the question, in consultation with the Census and Statistics Department and the Development Bureau, the reply is as follows. 1. According to the quarterly survey of employment and vacancies conducted by the CNSD, comparing December 2023 with December 2022, the number of establishments in the retail industry of jewelry, watches and clocks and valuable gifts is about 3,600, increased slightly by 3%, while that of medicines and cosmetics of the same period remained stable at approximately over 4,000. On the demand side, according to the information provided by the CNSD and the HKTB, the total value of retail sales in Hong Kong in 2023 was $406.6 billion, while the total spending on goods in Hong Kong by visitors was $71.3 billion, representing around 80% of the total value of retail sales in Hong Kong. In addition, according to the latest results of the HKTB's Departing Visitors Survey, factors attracting mainland tourists to visit Hong Kong have changed, and the proportion of tourists whose main purpose of visiting Hong Kong is shopping has gradually decreased. Having said that, some tourists considered that Hong Kong still enjoys price advantages in terms of luxury goods. Besides, the fashionable style, good quality, and the authenticity guarantee makes goods in Hong Kong popular. 2. According to the relevant mainland customs laws, the duty-free allowance for imported items for personal use by mainland visitors, including visitors to Hong Kong, is RMB 5,000 per travel. Increasing duty-free allowance for mainland visitors will not only enrich and enhance the experience in Hong Kong and provide them with incentive to shop, but will also boost local consumption and help attract more high-spending overnight visitors to come to Hong Kong. We will continue to maintain close communication with the relevant mainland authorities for policies and measures that are conducive to Hong Kong's tourism development, including increasing the duty-free allowance for mainland visitors, thereby enhancing the consumption intention and further stimulating the retail market. 3. In planning the northern metropolis, The government will take into account the industry potential in different areas and the opportunities for industry collaboration with the mainland in reserving land for industry development as appropriate. For instance, by leveraging the 3 land boundary control points in the boundary commerce and industry zone where Lo-wu, Mankamto, and Hung Yun Hoi are located, there is potential to develop leisure consumption-related commerce near the BCPs to meet the needs for cross-boundary services and livelihood consumption. We will reserve commercial land capable of accommodating retail and leisure consumption industries near the BCPs, the details of which will be announced when the land use proposal for the anti-North New Town is released in the second half of the year. Besides, Hung Shui-Kiu Ha-Chu New Development Area will enjoy the convenience brought by the Hong Kong-Shenzhen Western Rail Link, Hung Shui-Kiu to Qianhai section. Connecting to Qianhai area in Shenzhen, we will provide commercial land around the Hung Shui-Kiu Town Center railway station from 2026 onwards, contributing about 1 million square meters of commercial floor space in total, which may also accommodate retail and leisure consumption industries. Thank you, President. Mr. Yim Kong. President, at present, the consumption made by mainland visitors in Hong Kong are on the low side. And also, has the government considered working with the trade to work on a rebate program to attract more visitors? The Hong Kong airport has launched a series of rebate programs. If the consumption amount reaches a certain level, then there is a rebate. The results were great, so will the government learn from them? Secretary, we are going to exhaust every means to entice visitors from the mainland and overseas. At present, on last Monday, 8 more cities were added to the individual visit schemes. So the scheme will begin next Monday. The Tourism Board and other government departments have deployed colleagues to the BCPs and the airport and disperse goodie bags to them. We are also going to work with the trade industry to provide promotional campaigns and packages at various retail points. Ms. Maggie Chan. Thank you, President. Now, with the central authorities further enhancing the individual visit schemes, or IVS, how is the Hong Kong government aligning this scheme with the mega event calendar for 2024 and also the Hong Kong Shopping Festival launched by mainland authorities, so that SMEs can seize the opportunities offline and online and promote our unique brand? Secretary, President, we are working on multiple fronts. Concerning the additional cities added to the IVS, the Tourism Board is currently promoting tourism in Hong Kong in those cities. We have arranged representatives of the tourism sector from those sectors to come to Hong Kong and talk to our tourism sector. In terms of convenience and also discounts, there will be some collaborations. And also, we are making use of social media platform in the mainland to conduct diversified promotional campaigns to attract more visitors to Hong Kong. Now, we have had some in-depth discussion with the retail industry. That's why we have announced the mega events in the second half of the year in advance. We hope practitioners in various sectors, be it the retail sector, catering, and the hotel industry, the practitioners can align the promotional campaign with the calendar. discount packages can be offered targeting the participants of these mega events. Our goal is to encourage consumption across various sectors. So we have adopted a diversified approach in enticing visitors to come to Hong Kong to attend the mega events and spend. Mr. Robert Lee, President. Now we have traditional strengths in terms of standards and quality in, say, jewelry, gold products, and so on. And also, the central authorities are considering relaxing the duty-free shopping quota in Hong Kong. So will the government support the gold and jewelry retailers and manufacturers so that they can provide quality products to visitors? Secretary, all along, we have been striving to enhance the shopping experience of visitors in Hong Kong. All along, the vast majority of our products are authentic and great, except for a very small minority. Now, from the perspective of visitors, our products are of good value and are authentic. Now, the retail consumption has decreased. I think that's mostly due to competition. We need to diversify and be creative. We have to provide services and goods or experiences which are not available elsewhere. The shopping experience itself is also important. The diversity of products and services are also important. Concerning the gold and jewelry industry mentioned by the member, these are products very popular among mainland visitors. So we are going to work with the trade, not just the jewelry and gold industry. For other advantageous industries, we're going to work with them to jointly promote our brands to the mainland visitors. Thank you. Dr. Kennedy Wong. Thank you, President. Now, the IVS has been expanded to cover 59 cities. This is great news. Now, previously, for residents from Shenzhen and other mainland cities in the GBA, there was the so-called multiple entry visa arrangement, which was cancelled afterwards. So can the government work with the central authorities to reinstate this arrangement? Secretary. Thank you, President. Previously, Shenzhen residents enjoyed multiple entry permits. Afterwards, because of factors like our carrying capacity, it was changed to single visits per week. So in considering how we can boost the tourism industry, we have been working with the mainland authorities on multiple measures. On one hand, we see more cities being included in the IVS. Whatever measures can help boost our tourism sector, we will strive for them. So concerning the necessity of a multiple entry visa, we will work with the central authorities. Mr. Michael TIEN, President. Expanding the IVS to cover more cities, starting the 6th of March, Qingdao and Xi'an were also included. On average, every month or on a daily basis, there are some 100 visitors from these two cities to Hong Kong. Now, with more cities covered, that would be better than nothing, but that's not the main dish. The main dish is the 6 million Shenzhen residents we have to have multiple entry permits for them rather than a weekly one. I have been urging the government to do that since January. This is very important. The country may not adjust its taxation system and give us the duty allowance, the duty-free allowance we want. But if we have more Shenzhen residents to come, if they come to Hong Kong multiple times in a month, then they would be spending as much as $35,000 per month. Now, of course, each travel would only come with a $5,000 duty-free quota. But if they come more than once, then they would bring much economic benefits. I don't think you are working for the benefits for Hong Kong. Mr. Michael TIEN, you have asked your question. I want to ask whether you have told the Guangdong provincial government and the central authorities that we really want this multiple entry visa. Now, Mr. Michael Tien's view is solely from the perspective of the retail industry. In tourism, we need to consider whether the visitors are staying overnight, the ancillary facilities for them, say accommodation, and also tourism attractions. We want to provide a comprehensive tourism experience package to them. Tourism is not just about shopping. We need to be responsible to the mainland visitors by providing them with a quality traveling experience. So we are taking a comprehensive perspective in our discussion with the mainland authorities and what we are asking for. Now, forgive me for not divulging the details of the discussion with the central authorities here, but I can promise whatever means can boost our tourism industries and the related sectors, be it discounts or policy support or convenience, we will raise them with the central authorities in due course. Mrs. Regina Ip, what question has not been answered? I asked him about retail. He talked about traveling. The topic of this question is boosting the retail industry. Now, he has answered you. If you are not happy with the answer, please follow up on another occasion. Sorry, I pressed the wrong button. I intend to ask a question in question 5. Dr. Tan Yuehan. Thank you, President. Secretary? In your main reply to Mr. Yim Kong's question, in 2023, the total retail spending was $406.6 billion, with the total spending on goods in Hong Kong by visitors being $71.3 billion, representing around 80% of the total value of retail sales in Hong Kong. Now, in the past, what was the percentage of visitors spending on the total value of retail sales in Hong Kong? What was the peak amount or peak percentage? 80% is that does that represent a dramatic decrease? And what is the government doing to expand that ratio? Secretary. Thank you, President. If you look at the figures in 2019, the ballpark figure or the ballpark percentage of visitors spending in total value of retail sales was some 30%. So in terms of the percentage, visitors spending in the total value of retail sales has dropped. There are several reasons. Due to the pandemic, the consumption habits of mainland residents have changed. They have moved online. So we have always been saying we need to reinvent ourselves as well. Are we still selling things that are available elsewhere? Do we have our unique products? That's one of the factors. In year 2018 and 19, you may remember there was the problem of parallel traders. Now, when there was rampant parallel trade, it would affect the retail industry locally as well. After the pandemic, last year when we resumed cross-boundary travel, the problem of parallel trading is not as serious or rampant as before. So maybe that also accounted for the lesser or lower percentage of visitor spending in our total sales value. But there is always room for improving our retail industry. We must enhance the quality of our products and services and their attractiveness so that our mainland friends are willing to make spending in our retail shops. So that is the direction of the government's and the tourism sector's effort. Thank you.
Question 5, Mr. Michael TIEN. There are views that, notwithstanding the consensus in society that Hong Kong should organize more mega events to consolidate its status as an events capital, Hong Kong's venues and supporting facilities may pose a major obstacle. In this connection, will the government inform this council, 1, whether it will build the largest outdoor performance venue in Asia to attract top international superstars and groups to perform in Hong Kong? 2, given that during the debate on the members' motion on polishing Hong Kong's tourism brand in this council on 22nd of February, the government indicated that it would be willing to explore the provision of recreational and entertainment facilities on the Sunny Bay Reclamation site, including a multi-purpose venue or a racing circuit of the relevant details and timetable. And 3, given that the Development and Reform Commission of Guangdong Province issued the notice on Guangdong Province 2024 Key Construction Project Plan in March, and one of the proposed projects was the construction of an FIA Grade 1 circuit and supporting facilities in Guangzhou, together with the construction of an international comprehensive racing sports park around the circuit. Whether the government will discuss with the relevant mainland authorities the collaboration to construct a top-class motor racing circuit and supporting facilities in Hong Kong, which can represent the presence of the Greater Bay Area in the sport, so as to create synergy effects, if so, of the details, if not the reasons for that. Secretary for Culture, Sports and Tourism. Organizing international mega events in Hong Kong means a lot to the city in various aspects. Not only do the events attract more tourists and generate more business opportunities, but also inject momentum to social development, bring joy to the public, create a positive atmosphere, and bolster Hong Kong's international image. Mega events of conventions and exhibitions can further foster the development of other industries. Both the direct and indirect spending of tourists during their participation in the mega events will bring economic gains to Hong Kong, and they will also make the best ambassadors to tell the good stories of Hong Kong. The CSTB has been promoting cultural, sports and tourism mega events and attracting mega events to be held in Hong Kong. In the process of coordination, CSTB proactively communicates and collaborates with bureaus and departments. In consultation with the Development Bureau, my reply to the member's question is as follows. 1. The government welcomes more large-scale performances and concerts starring internationally renowned celebrities and groups to be held in Hong Kong. The majority of the concerts are run on commercial principles, involving lots of complex commercial and practical considerations. We understand that in addition to the size of venue, organizers take into account a number of factors, which include singers' schedule, market response, financial viability, target audience group and size, and venue facilities, etc. When choosing the location of a concert, according to our information, on average each month in 2023 there were about 2 internationally renowned singers holding large-scale concerts with an audience of more than 10,000, and most of them were holding more than one show. In respect of venues, taking the highly popular Hong Kong Coliseum and the Queen Elizabeth Stadium as examples, the two venues have close to 100% occupancy in 2023-24. Asia World Expo and the Central Harbourfront event space were also frequently used. It demonstrates that there are many famous international and local singers staging large-scale pop concerts in Hong Kong. The Kai-Tak Sports Park, being the largest sports infrastructure project in Hong Kong's history, occupies an area of about 28 hectares. It will provide modern and multi-purpose sports and recreation facilities upon completion, including 50,000-seat main stadium, a 10,000-seat indoor sports center, a 5,000-seat public sports ground, and about 14 hectares of landscape open space and other ancillary facilities. The main stadium has a retractable roof, offers different seat positioning and stage configurations, as well as adopting a flexible pitch system, providing more options for the hosting of different types of events. The outdoor event space of around 1.4 hectares adjacent to the main stadium allows the staging of fringe activities of the events held in the main stadium or the hosting of different kinds of outdoor sports and entertainment events. For the indoor sports center, it has a retractable seating system and it has a flexible configuration of the play field. It would facilitate the hosting of various kinds of sports or non-sports facilities or events. Together with the diversified, efficient and convenient transport facilities and catering facilities, the sports park will become another appealing venue for large-scale outdoor performance. As a matter of fact, Kai-tak Sports Park has so far made contact with over 200 local and international sports and non-sports events, promotion bodies, organizations and agencies, amongst which around 50 of them have expressed interest in leasing the facilities of the sports park. There are many considerations in considering the construction of large-scale outdoor performance venues. Besides the scale of venues, the suitability of locations, ancillary facilities, and accessibility, financial viability, seasons of favorable weather for outdoor events in Hong Kong, market demand, and so on. We will closely monitor the use of the sports park after its opening and continue to study the ongoing need of developing large-scale venues and plan for site development for outdoor venues of even greater scale when necessary. 2 and 3. The government announced the preliminary proposals for the Kowloon Artificial Islands KYCI project at the end of 2022. It recommended to build Hong Kong Island West to Hong Kong rail link and reserve part of the area of the proposed Sunny Bay reclamation to accommodate railway depot facilities. The CEDD commenced an engineering study for the site in May 2023 for anticipated completion in mid-2025 to ascertain the extent of reclamation required and technical feasibility. Once the extent of reclamation is ascertained, the government will explore the various land use options. The government will explore then the provision of various recreational and entertainment facilities on the site, including a multi-purpose venue and a motor racing circuit. Hong Kong is a center for major international sports events. We will continue to foster the exchange and collaboration in such regard between Hong Kong and different cities and the mainland. At present, we are proactively working with the Guangdong province and the Macau SAR to take forward the organization of the National Games and National Games for PWDs, persons with disabilities, to be held in 2025. We believe that after the National Games, more various types of mega events will commence one after another. As for the undertaking of major infrastructure projects, we will also take into account other projects in the Greater Bay Area. Thank you, President. Mr. Michael TIEN. What now? If we want to invite pop stars, we would lose to Singapore. If we want to attract the smaller ones, we would lose to mainland. We're only making use of our existing facilities. We want to have a ski rink, but then we only have an ice skating rink. We are losing out in every regard. The Greater Bay Area cities are raining out. Recently, a friend of mine went to Shanghai, and it is said that there are events from various countries that are being held there. We have many airlines stopping as a destination in Hong Kong. Why are we losing out? Can you raise your question, Mr. Michael TIEN? My question is very simple. It is said that in mid-2025, the CEDD would complete the study on Sunny Bay reclamation. And in Guangzhou, they already have plans to do so. And you know the speed of development in the mainland is very quick. So can we liaise with mainland authorities as soon as possible so that we can collaborate with the Guangdong province to have a F1 motor racing circuit in Sunny Bay for the Greater Bay Area. Thank you. Secretary. With a significant investment like that, we would need comprehensive plans. Regarding the Sunny Bay Reclamation Project, there are multiple factors to consider. Of course, with the Development Bureau study, as said in the main reply, we need to ascertain the extent of reclamation required first. We don't even know if it is technically feasible to reclaim the area. As for the future plans of what we can do on the site, if it is found it is not technically feasible to reclaim the area, or we can't even ascertain the extent of reclamation required at the moment, there is really no point in determining the land uses now at this stage. Regarding collaboration with the Greater Bay Area, of course, we will discuss collaboration with other cities of the Greater Bay Area. For other cities in the Greater Bay Area, if they decide to leverage on their strengths and have a motor racing circuit constructed, we can perhaps liaise with such cities to achieve coordinated development and synergies within the Greater Bay Area. I believe that is the target of having the Greater Bay Area in the first place. Thank you. Mr. Chu Kwok-fan. We have recently been making arrangements for the concert of Hua Chen Yu, and I understand from the organizer they would go to different departments of the government. They had gone to the buildings department and the food environmental hygiene department for different things. Because there is no single platform, they have faced some difficulties in ironing out the issues. Will the Bureau consider setting up a dedicated task force to provide a one-stop shop for coordinating the organization of mega events? Thank you. Secretary. The concert that the member mentioned, the CSTB did take part in the process and has provided support. 1 or 2 days before the concert, we have had meetings with bureaus and departments on logistics arrangements and cross-boundary clearance arrangements. So the CSTB would play a coordinating role in the process. As we are trying to develop a mega event economy, the Deputy Financial Secretary is taking the lead in the organization of mega events. We also have a window that would act as a first point of contact for organizers, and then it would refer to various departments, the various projects, to assess the economic gains of such events to Hong Kong. We have a coordinating task force that would involve the FSTB, for example. The FSTB would then coordinate the different bureaus and departments in this regard. We have seen in the past months the operations of such being smooth. We will, of course, improve whenever necessary the arrangements. As for what the CSTB can do, we believe we have been providing adequate support and coordination in this regard. Thank you. Mrs. Regina Ip. To have more mega events to attract more high-value visitors. This is, of course, welcome. But with the organization of mega events, we have to consider the local circumstances. For Temple Street, for example, I do understand that the events have attracted many visitors, but the residents have conveyed concerns in relation to nuisance and hygiene. I understand that many motor racing related stakeholders want to have a motor racing circuit in Hong Kong, but we have to consider the fact that it would cause sound nuisance. And we have many people living in Tung Chung, and with, in general, more people that are going to move into Tung Chung with the new town extensions. If we have cars speeding at all times in the circuit, it would definitely cause a nuisance to neighboring residents. I want to make sure the administration would take into account residents' concerns. Thank you. Secretary, I assure you we will definitely consider the needs of residents. Apart from considering the justifications for constructing a motor racing circuit, we will also consider the needs of residents as well as the impact on the traffic network in the vicinity. For such a large-scale project, we would, of course, also need to conduct consultations with the stakeholders. Please rest assured, Mrs. Regina Yu. Thank you. Mr. Kenneth Lau. Thank you, President. F1 is one of the 3 major sporting events in the world. I believe if we can have a circuit, we will definitely be able to attract a lot of visitors. So I agree with Mr. Michael TIEN that a motor racing circuit should be constructed in Hong Kong. However, we can have it in a different location, or perhaps we can make it a temporary venue. Perhaps we can set up one in an urban area. With the Kowloon Artificial Islands project, has the government considered the feasibility of having a motor racing circuit on the Kowloon Artificial Islands? Thank you. Secretary, a world-class motor racing activity is, as the member said, very attractive to international visitors, and I'm sure it may bring about significant economic gains. And this is why we are developing the mega event economy in Hong Kong. But you have to understand, even if a motor racing circuit is constructed, F1 events may not necessarily be held in Hong Kong. So I think we can perhaps make use of existing roads. As you may remember, before F1E was held in Hong Kong, we believe that may be more efficient. And even if we decide to construct a motor racing circuit, we shouldn't construct it on the premise that F1 events would definitely be held there. If we are to construct a circuit, we should take into account the different kinds of motor races that may be held there. And not just motor racing, really. We should also consider other options because motor racing events are only held once per year. We should consider the different options that the circuit can accommodate. But of course, if a signature event like such is held in Hong Kong, it can bring about significant economic gains to Hong Kong. So we will liaise with the relevant organization to see if the different races can be held in Hong Kong. Thank you. Mr. Benson Look. Thank you, President. we are to develop mega event economy, if we are to hold concerts, we need large-scale outdoor performance venues because they would generate very good vibes for visitors. So apart from Kai Tak Sports Park, we should explore other options for outdoor performance venues. As said in the main reply, we have right now the Central Harbourfront event space. It can accommodate 12,000 to 20,000 people. However, I understand that the Harbourfront Commission discussed a structure of the MTR Corporation of 55 meters times 18 meters is to be constructed in the event space, and in 2025 the excavation works would begin, and the works for the project would only be completed in 2032. It would take 7 years to complete this project. So we need to consider whether there is an alternative option for the facility of the MTR Corporation. It seems to be in conflict with our development of the mega event economy. Can the administration explain more about the current situation at the moment for the Central Harbourfront event space? Thank you, Secretary. I thank the member for raising this concern. With the development of mega event economy, the Central Harbourfront event space plays a very important role. It is only recently that concerts were held there. Well, due to transport needs, the facilities would have to be constructed. I understand the need for proposing this project in the first place, but in view of the latest developments, we are having internal discussions to see if the facility indeed has to be placed there. Would it need indeed 7 years to complete? We're considering different options. We believe there may be better proposals to better make use of the space. Of course, the developing of mega event economy is just one part of the government's efforts. We also need to take into account the transport needs, but we will strike a balance. Question 6.
Last question seeking an oral reply, Ms. Elizabeth QUAT. There are views that the incidence of personal data breaches or hacker intrusions that have occurred in recent years in a number of government departments and public and private organizations reflects a generally low awareness among society about protecting personal data and ensuring cybersecurity. In this connection, will the government inform its council, 1, whether it will instruct the heads of various government departments and the heads of IT security of such departments be held accountable for the security work of the computer systems in their departments and take disciplinary actions against officers involved in cases of human negligence or non-compliance. 2. Given that the Office of the Privacy Commissioner for Personal Data indicated in its paper submitted to the panel on constitutional affairs of this council in February this year that it was working with the government to conduct a comprehensive review of the Personal Data Privacy Ordinance and formulate concrete legislative amendment proposals, including the establishment of a mandatory notification mechanism for breach of personal data, of the latest progress of the relevant work and the specific timetable, whether the government will introduce mechanisms such as administrative fines under the ordinance and step up the relevant education and promotion efforts to raise the awareness of cyber and information security in society as a whole, and 3, whether it will study the introduction of data privacy assessments and audits for all government information technology projects so as to ensure that the relevant systems will not disclose excessive and unnecessary personal data to the public. Secretary for Innovation, Technology and Industry. President, information and cybersecurity are the cornerstone of digital government. All bureaus and departments are responsible for ensuring the primary security of their IT systems and data, and should put in place effective information security framework and specific measures for their systems in accordance with the government IT security policy and guidelines issued by OGCIO, the Office of the Government Chief Information Officer. The recent incidents of personal data breach of individual government departments and public organizations show that bureaus and departments, as well as all sectors of society, must stay vigilant about information and cybersecurity risks at all times and should continuously strengthen the protection of information systems and data. Regarding the three parts of the question, in consultation with CMAB, the Constitutional and Mainland Affairs Bureau, my reply is as follows. 1. Under the existing policy and guidelines, bureaus and departments are directly responsible for the implementation and security of their IT projects. The scope of their main responsibilities include the following. 1. Comply with and adopt the Information Security Risk Management System, technical requirements and reference standards as stated in the policy and guidelines. 2. Supervise the implementation of their IT systems and ensure that relevant personnel adhere to the policy and guidelines. 3. Conduct regular SRAA, security risk assessments and audits for their IT infrastructure, information systems, and data assets. 4. Report information security incidents to the Government Information Security Incident Response Office and notify as appropriate PCPD, the Office of the Privacy Commissioner for Personal Data, and or the police depending on the nature of incident. And 5. Government officers should strictly follow the other applicable rules and regulations, including the Official Secrets Ordinance, the Security Regulations, and the Civil Service Code. It's clear that bureaus and departments shoulder the responsibility of the first line of defense to safeguard the security of IT systems under their purview. The heads of bureaus and departments will handle cases in accordance with the established procedures if their personnel or contracted service providers are suspected of violating relevant regulations or engaging in illegal acts. To further enhance the key supervisory role of bureaus and departments over government IT projects, the OGCIO is actively examining measures to provide appropriate guidance and technical support to bureaus and departments, such as requiring bureaus and departments to designate senior officers to directly supervise the SRAA of their information systems and to strengthen the cyber risk detection, spot checks, and compliance audits. Will implement relevant measures ASAP. According to information provided by CMAB, the PCPD is currently conducting a comprehensive review of the Personal Data Privacy Ordinance and formulating concrete proposals for legislative amendments, which include establishing a mandatory personal data breach notification mechanism, requiring data users to formulate policies on personal data retention period, empowering the Privacy Commissioner to impose administrative fines, direct regulation of data processors, and clarifying the definition of personal data. The PCPD is studying in detail relevant laws of other jurisdictions while taking account of the actual situation in Hong Kong to put forward practicable legislative amendment proposals to align with international developments in privacy protection and strengthen the protection of personal data privacy. Once specific legislative amendment proposals are firmed up, the PCPD will consult the government and this council, after which a legislative amendment timetable will be drawn up having regard to actual circumstances. In addition, the PCPD has been actively engaging in publicity and education work in different aspects, with a view to promoting and enhancing public awareness of personal data security. These include launching a thematic web page on data security and a data security hotline to help enterprises enhance their measures on safeguarding data security, organizing and taking part in seminars and conferences to elaborate on cybersecurity and data security measures, and rolling out the flagship promotional event, Privacy Awareness Week 2024, to improve the capability of the public and organizations in safeguarding personal data. 3. The policy and guidelines requires all bureaus and departments to conduct PIA, Privacy Impact Assessment, during the design stage of information systems and before making updates of significant impact, which help identify and address early the potential privacy issues in the information systems. In response to the latest developments in information and cybersecurity, the OGCIO is studying measures to require bureaus and departments to appoint senior officers to closely oversee the PIA of their information systems. It will also introduce regular testing, cybersecurity attack and defense drills, enhanced staff training, and closer collaboration with stakeholders to strengthen the abilities to monitor and safeguard for government information systems, thereby protecting more effectively the information systems and data security. Ms. Elizabeth QUAT. President, Secretary just now said very clearly that government bureaus and departments have to be directly responsible for the implementation of their IT projects and information security. That means they have to follow the guidelines set by the OGCIO. However, we see that there is no consequence if they don't follow the guidelines. Over the past few years, we see security incidents caused by human negligence, but no one was held accountable. Do they have to be held accountable? Secretary just now said that government bureaus and departments will strengthen their supervision and that bureaus and departments will be required to appoint senior officers to oversee such work. When will the departments or bureaus be held accountable if there are incidents? Also, if there are incidents again, will there be penalties? Secretary. I thank the member for the questions. In order to strengthen the safeguarding of government information system, the government will roll out a series of measures. The first measure is to strengthen the responsibility, supervision, or supervisory role of each government department and bureau. We will require each bureau and department to appoint senior officers to oversee the assessment of their information systems. All security incident reports will have to be first vetted by the heads of bureaus and departments before being submitted to the OGCIO, that is the Future Digital Policy Office. We have to first ensure that our future implementation of electronic system will be smooth and that our online security or information systems can be safeguarded. I believe that the supervisory role of the government in this regard will be stepped up in the future. Ms. QUAT, if in the future appointed senior officers, even after they have supervised the work, and there are still incidents, will there be penalties? Secretary, we mentioned in our new guidelines that each bureau and department have to take up supervisory role and responsibilities. The Digital Policy Office will have to take up responsibilities as well. And the relevant guidelines will be issued to all government bureaus and departments. Professor William Wong, thank you. Public organizations and NGOs normally don't have a lot of knowledge on information security, and also relevant costs are high, especially for organizations of smaller scale. It is hard for them to afford the expenses to protect their information systems. Has the government considered building a platform with private companies so that NGOs and public organizations can take part in such platform to procure information security services? Secretary, I thank Professor Wong for the questions. I think cybersecurity is of concern and the responsibility of all sectors. It is not just the government's responsibility. In the second half of this year, we will launch a drill. We will invite members of the relevant sectors to assist the government or public organizations in conducting a screening or a test. In fact, we have done a lot of work over the past period of time. We have subsidized over 1,000 projects concerning stepping up information security involving $150 million. In 2016, we also rolled out services free of charge for screening relevant IT systems for SMEs. We also rolled out hotline services so that SMEs can take measures appropriately. As at this April, we have provided over 24,000 services to ensure the security of .hk websites. Since September 2021, we have rolled out assessment tools, and so far we have provided advice and services to ensure the security of relevant IT systems. We are seeing evolving changes and tactics of different tech crimes. So for the next step, the government will, together with the relevant sectors, to step up our strategies so that we can build a security barrier together. Professor Priscilla Leung, in 2017, there was a leakage of voters' information, and recently there was also a leakage of personal data. This is unacceptable. I have been followed up on seawater black spots for 10 years. For public or private organizations that have to do with these information security black spots, will you regulate them? How are you going to ask them to follow the relevant guidelines and rules? Secretary. We're going to roll out a series of measures, and one of the measures is that we're going to establish the Digital Policy Office, and that we're going to step up screening tests of our IT systems. We're also going to regularly conduct screening tests for security vulnerabilities. We will assess the cybersecurity risks. We will hold random checks on IT systems that are subject to higher risks. We're also going to do compliance checks and audits. As mentioned, we will also step up cybersecurity drills to detect any vulnerabilities as early as possible. So all in all, we're going to roll out a series of measures to step up cybersecurity safeguard. Mr. Holden Chow, we see back-to-back occurrences of personal data breaches. With the new arrangement to be rolled out by the government in future drills, that is cybersecurity drills, well, will you consider documenting these drills so that you can tell the public that you are holding these drills to cope with any potential cybersecurity risks, so that it won't give the public the impression that you're only holding drills when incidents occur? Secretary, in the future, we will, at appropriate junctures, report to the Legislative Council and the public about our drills. For instance, we asked government offices not to include important information or personal data on cloud servers. So we will do more of these random checks and screening in the future. Also, we are going to conduct regular screenings for government IT systems to prevent hackers' attacks. The recent spate of cybersecurity incidents have to do with global cybersecurity trend. We're seeing a sharp increase of such incidents over the past few years, and Hong Kong is subject to such risks as well, like any other places in the world. So we are imposing more requirements on our IT systems. I will hope that in the future, the Digital Policy Office as well as Legislative Council members can help safeguard cybersecurity together. Mr. Lam Chun-sing. Thank you, President. Professor William Wong just now mentioned about the situations faced by public organizations. In the past, statutory bodies or public organizations also faced electronic system failures or personal data leakage. However, they aren't government departments. Is there an oversight of these IT systems of the public organizations? Will you step up supervision of public organizations, or will there be new guidelines that can be better followed by public organizations? Or will you consider allocating more resources to these organizations so that they can engage IT personnel to supervise their IT systems? Secretary, in terms of the safety and security of digital systems, the measures we're going to roll out are going to cover public organizations. Be it government departments or public organizations, we will definitely step up supervision in the future. There are several thousands of IT systems under the government. Well, in the future, apart from Digital Policy Office, we have to rely on different government departments and bureaus to work together to ensure the safety of our IT systems. Mr. Rock Chen. President, I want to ask if the government will consider requiring contracted service providers to put sensitive information in cloud service built by the government only when they procure services from outsourced parties. Secretary, there are several thousands of government IT systems. The cloud server of the government only holds key information. And we can not only rely on the government to operate such cloud system or cloud server for important sensitive information, including personal data or systems concerning personal data. We ask contractors not to put them in the cloud server. However, for other types of information, we ask them to continue to use the cloud server. We ask the relevant government departments to supervise the contractors. If the contractors fail to perform in accordance with the contracts, then we can take actions, including issuing warnings to contractors or ask for compensation or even terminate the contracts early. In the future, we will consider introducing a blacklist for substandard contractors. We will consider taking measures or actions against them. For projects with that cost below $20 million, we ask contractors to come up with a name list, and we step up supervision for the contractors included in the list. Mr. Martin Liao, in recent years, we see many personal data breaches involving public organizations or government bodies. EMSD, Fire Services Department, as well as the URA were involved in these data breaches, and it has to do with third-party organizations. Will the government consider reviewing the Personal Data Privacy Ordinance to step up the obligations of contractors? How are you going to regulate contractors not to have unauthorized access of personal data or improper handling of such data? Undersecretary for Constitutional and Mainland Affairs. I thank Mr. Liao for the questions. In relation to the legislative amendment mentioned, well, as mentioned in our main reply, the data processes are involved. Members mentioned about contracted service providers. We have data user that pass the relevant information to data processors. In the legislative amendment exercise, we're now considering government bill. Mr. Martin Liao, which part of your questions is not responded? Could the Undersecretary repeat his answer one more time? Can you hear me? Please change the mic for Undersecretary. I thank Mr. Liao for the questions. Mr. Liao mentioned about the responsibility of data processors. Currently, we are drafting up legislative amendments. As mentioned in our main reply, a lot of times we outsource our work to contractors, and data users have to pass the data to contractors, and we have to directly regulate these data processors. We do not restrict data users. So these are the considerations we have when we're drafting up the legislative amendments. Thank you.
Government Bill, first reading, Construction Industry Security of Payment Bill, second reading.